Hi everybody, welcome back to Nicely Soiled. So there are several reasons why your plants may not be happy once you bring them home. And if you're a plant beginner, this is a good video for you to try to find out what disagrees with your plants. I would say that there are 5 main causes of death for new plants that you acquire. Usually it's a lack of something. A lack of, for example, cares, because suppose you're too busy working, too busy with your own life and with lots of things going on, you may not be looking at your plants as often as you should. So looking at your plant is really one of the most important things. But sometimes this may not be enough. Although monitoring your plants on a daily basis is definitely a very good start, it needs to be supported by good research, which is also the aim of Nicely Soiled. We try to make one video for each plant and provide you with all the necessary information that you need to know to make your plants thrive. In addition to that, another cause of death may be the conditions that you find in your home. So although most of the conditions can be changed and the environment can be recreated, if you have a lack of light, complete lack of light at home, if you have a too dry or too humid environment, at times you may not be able to have success. So this is something that you may also consider when buying a new plant. If you have a plant that really needs a lot of light, for example like this one in my case, and you don't have that much light at home, you may as well gift it to somebody, as I did, to somebody who has a home full of sunlight, so after some time it can actually recover. Or if you haven't bought it yet and you know it needs a tremendous amount of sunlight and you don't have it, then you may as well think of buying a different plant. Another reason why plants sometimes die are pests. So when you buy a plant, make sure that you are checking on everything. And one more thing is simply the shock of changing place and conditions too many times. So although a shock is normal for the plants when changing environment multiple times and being brought back to your home, there are ways to minimize this problem. We are now going to find out what you can do to help your plant when you bring them to your place. So tip number 1, when you buy a plant, make sure you know the name of the plant. It may seem obvious, but not everybody asks for the name of the plant when they buy them. So usually they have a label, like for example like this one, with the name written in here. For example, this is Peperomia Rana Verde, and they've wrote it here, and with that it makes it much easier to research online and to find out what it is. At times you don't have the name of the plant in any label, so in that case you can ask the florist, or you can also make a research. What I usually do if I don't know the name of the plant that I've purchased, because in the label it's only like succulent mix, it's very vague, I research and I Google, for example, I don't know, like succulent with red leaves. That's an example. Succulent with green and red leaves, succulents with whatever it is, and I click on images, and then I scroll down until I find the plant that matches mine. And once I've found it, it's very likely, if you put a description, then it's very likely that you will find it. Then you will also know the name. Once you know the name, you can do your research. Tip number 2, before you're buying your plant, check very carefully if it has any pests. You may want to check the top of the leaves, the bottom of the leaves, the stem and the soil. Check if there are any insects, if there are any eggs, or if there are any spots. These three are signs of something going wrong, and I definitely recommend not buying the plant if you find any of these. And especially if you see like spots that are white or that are brown, I definitely recommend you don't buy the plant. And regardless of how beautiful it is, I would say don't buy it. Why? Because it can infest also the other plants that you have at home, so it can cause quite many problems. Don't worry, usually florists and at nurseries, they don't sell extremely rare plants, so somewhere else you will find them. And I would not worry about it. I would just keep it, because it's more like a problem to cure the plant rather than looking for the same plant from another place. Then, once you made sure that there are no pests on the plant and you want to go ahead with your purchase, ask the florist what is recommended for this plant. And ask if your home with your certain conditions would be a good environment for your plant. If it's a yes, then go ahead and buy it. Then once you're back home, you will also want to do some more research. And I'm talking about Google, about YouTube, about the blogs, or ask anyone who knows quite a lot about plants. And yeah, so the topics of your research should be sunlight, because that's essential. Sunlight, the amount of sunlight that the plant needs is very important. Then the temperature, so you know if you need to keep your plant at home, indoors or outside. Then the amount of water it needs, so how frequently. Don't go with the number of times it should be watered per week, because I really do not support that method. I support more like a method of observing the plants and seeing if the soil is dry or not. Because if we say water your plant once a week, then it's not going to work, because in winter the soil remains usually moist for a longer time, while in summer it dries out super quickly. You just cannot like water it once a week or twice a week the whole year. Things really change. So do your research and try to find out if the soil has to be always moist, or if it has to dry out completely before you water it again. Check. Then fertilizing is another thing you have to look for. If your plant is okay to be fertilized, there are some plants that really do not want to be fertilized. So check on that, because that's very important. And then the type of soil. The type of soil is super important, because a plant that wants an always moist soil will have a soil that retains water much more, rather than a plant that wants a more dry soil, because maybe it comes from the desert, maybe it lives in the trees, so it's different. Trust me, it is different. So look also at the type of soil it wants. And once you are done with all your research, then you are good to go. Place the plant where it would enjoy the natural conditions. For example, if the plant is from the desert and wants direct sunlight, try to put it in a place where it receives direct sunlight. If it's a plant that likes, for example, a warm summer and cold winters, place it outside. Or, for example, if it's a plant that would live under trees, don't place it under the direct sunlight, but place it where it can enjoy some light, but not direct. It really depends on the plant you choose. And after you have placed it in the right spot, continue to try to recreate the natural environment. What does this mean? For example, if the plant loves humidity and you don't have enough humidity, I would recommend getting a humidifier, as I do for some plants, because some require more humidity than others. You will find good links down below in the info box, and yeah, you can still, modify the environment. Monitor every day. This is tip number 5. Yeah, monitor every day, so you know if your plant is doing well or if it's not, and if you have to change a little something before you continue and the plant dies. And my final recommendation is on how to avoid the shock when the plant changes environment, for example from your nursery to your home. How to minimize this? Although some shock is always present because it is a change, unless it's a very, very strong plant, then it is still a change. What I recommend is not to repot it for some time, at least I would say 1 or 2 weeks. If you really don't like the pot, you can do like I did, for example, here, in this case, with my anthurium. I bought a cover of the pot. So I have a nice pot and I didn't bother the roots quite much. Then, yeah, after some time you can repot it. Also, another thing that I really recommend, do not fertilize it right away. The plant needs to recover, and it will probably have fertilizer already in the soil. So, because in the nursery and in the greenhouses, they surely fertilize and give her the best conditions. So I would say for like the first 6 months, you're good to go. I mean, you don't need to give the plant any extras. Then, absolutely yes. If that's the case, you should integrate some nutrients to the soil, in the soil. And this is basically all for this session. I hope it's going to be useful for you, and I hope you check the next video, in which we are going to talk about all the equipment that you need to take good care of your plants. So if you want to get to know when I'm uploading a new video, then you should definitely subscribe and click on the bell button, so you will receive a notification when my next video is uploaded. I hope to see you next week with the next video.